All right, everybody, I'm back. Clap twice if you can hear my voice. Clap twice if you can hear my voice. All right, let's keep this party pushing. Our next topic is binge-worthy bite-sized content, surviving the attention span apocalypse. We introduce to you our panel speaker, Vincent W. Allen, founder and managing director of VAAV Industries. Small round of applause. We have Nan McKay, founder and CEO of Nan McKay Connects, and Sarah Olds, vice president and product and member. Please, round of applause for our three speakers. And if your mics are working, please feel free to take over the stage. You're going to have 35 good minutes. Enjoy.
Okay, great, fantastic. All right, let's get to going. How you doing, everybody? How's everyone doing this morning? Everyone tired like the rest of us? Okay, so what we're gonna talk about today is you see on the title card, it's binge-worthy bite-sized content, surviving the attention span apocalypse. So we're gonna spend some time discussing where we've come from in terms of content creation and where we are now with people's attention spans that are just, ooh, squirrel. Right? And so I'll start off by introducing myself. My name is Vincent Allen. I founded and run a production company called VAV Industries. We're based in New York, but we do work all over the world, producing, live streams, pre-shot content. I come from a broadcasting background, so done work with the Today Show and the Olympics, and 100 other things. So we're going to start talking about some of that today, and then I'll leave my co-conspirators here to introduce themselves and talk about where they're from and what they do.
I'm Sarah Olds. I am the VP of Product and Production at iProv, which is an advertising, marketing, and business consulting firm because we do things a wee bit different. And since we're talking about bite size, I will keep this short and sweet because I am very squirrely. So I understand not wanting to pay attention. My background is mostly just content itself, more in the editing long form stage. So I had to adapt to this. So it's fitting.
Well, I'm Nan McKay, and I have two companies. I started one in 1980 out of the basement of my house when women could not get a credit card in their own name. And that company has grown to about 2,000 employees. And so I'm president of the board of that, which means we really don't do much. I personally don't do much, but I did the 40 weeks a year travel for 30 years. So I am, if nothing else, a road warrior. In addition to that, I have, let's call it a side hustle because the other one doesn't take 100% of my time. And I have another company called Nan McKay Connects. And with that, I'm doing leadership training. I believe that we are in a crisis period right now with employee retention and culture changes. And therefore, I have a 6-month program called Lead and Succeed Community. I take about 10 to 20 people in a group at a time. And we have these going all year long. And we teach classes to help people get that organizational transition and up and down connection from the top to the bottom. I have published 2 books. One is Gold in the Golden Years, which is for women over 50 who would like to start or grow a business. And I have another series called the Leader Accelerator Program. And my book is Leading the Way, and then I'll keep adding to that. I also have a LinkedIn newsletter article called Leadership Insights. So that's enough for right now.
Maybe we should just do a panel about what Nan hasn't done at this
that.
point. Before we move into the topic, I want to take I would be remiss if we didn't take a moment to, in the month of March, to acknowledge all the amazing ladies, both on this stage and in this room, who are doing amazing things in business and life. So can we just give all the ladies a round of applause really quick? I mean, you guys do amazing things, and we talked about it earlier in the week on my keynote about the difficulties in, like you said, retention and all the people we've lost over the last few years relative to offboarding and things of that nature. But let's jump right in. Nan, I think you wanted to talk about the audience and how and who are we actually talking to. So why don't we jump into that?
A little bit about who is our audience, because if we're going to market to somebody, we better know who we're marketing to and who we want to transition to and say, that's my audience. So I'm going to explore this a little bit. And I'm going to do it by generations. So we have our traditionalists. Yes, they still have a lot of money, so we should still focus on them. They're 79 to 96. Wait a minute, did I say 96? What happens after 96? Oh my gosh, the range stopped. I have to worry about that. I'm 81, so I have to worry about that. But we think about those traditionalists and we think, okay, let me see what they like and what they don't like. Now, the traditionalists, you might say, you want to probably market to them through the TV. Okay? Think about that. Those traditionalists are shaking their fists at the TV. Why? Because what do they see? They're saying, where is the news? I mean, I remember when I had a black and white TV and we had 3 channels and they gave us the real news. I don't even see that today. And what about those football games? Now, those football games drive me crazy because I am looking for the marching band when we have the halftime, and I'm not seeing any marching band. I'm seeing things I don't even understand. If I can even get to the halftime, because what I'm really seeing is ads after ad after ad. I know we didn't have that many. So, well, maybe we can market to those traditionalists, but I'm not real sure. Let's see who's next. Oh, we've got those baby boomers. Okay, those baby boomers are about 60 to about that 78 period. So let's market to the baby boomers. We got to find them first. Now, where are those baby boomers? Oh, well, they're out on a cruise. So I doubt if they're really watching TV when they're out on that cruise.
So Nan, they're not on Facebook arguing with people?
No, they're not on
Okay.
Facebook. They're out on the cruise. They might be on Facebook, but that's a lot of the traditionalists. The baby boomers are still moving and grooving. And if they're not on the cruise, well, maybe they are still at work. I mean, it's 8 p.m., so they could still be at work. So I don't know. They're pretty tired when they get home. I'm not sure that those baby boomers are the ones that we want to market to, but they're still there and they're still working, so maybe they still have some money to spend for us. Who's next? Oh, we've got those Gen X next. Now, the Gen X is an interesting generation. If you're part of this Gen X, you will groove into this and you'll say, yeah, I can identify with that. There are latchkey kids. They are the people whose mom and dad went to work and they had to stay and in the apartment, and they said, now you stay in the house and lock the door until I get home. So they became very independent, very able to work by themselves. In fact, they like working by themselves. But something is happening kind of interesting that we're not seeing before to this particular generation of the Gen X. The women particularly want to make a difference. They're tired of doing what they're doing. They're tired of the good old boy system. They want to figure out what they could do to make a difference in lives, to make a difference in the environment, to make a difference in their culture, etc. So they might be a good person to market to, but here's the problem. They're spending all their money doing that, maybe becoming an entrepreneur, and they may not have enough money left over to be able to actually spend on the things you want them to buy. So I'm not sure about those Gen Xers. Okay, who's next in line? It's the Gen Y or those millennials. Well, you know, the millennials. For the millennials, they're working hard. They're paying back a lot of student loans, so I'm not sure they're going to have the money that we need. But for the millennials, what they really want you to know, if they are working for you, is that they are amazing. And what they really want is for you to appreciate how amazing they really are. And then we've got the Gen Zs next in line. And the Gen Zs are just kind of starting out because they are about 13 to about 26. And the Gen Zs have something very interesting going. First of all, they are the most entrepreneurial generation and certainly very, very digital, like are the millennials. But they have some insecurities. And so the Gen Zs are the people that you should get to know a little bit because they are so digital, they are spending money. but they are also trying to eventually get an apartment because they are really tired of living with mom at home, although she does all their laundry, and that's nice. So they like that. So the last group we have is the alphas. Now, the alphas are 12 and under. So you think, okay, maybe why would I market to alphas?
They
Think
spend
about it.
all their parents' money.
They may be the person that you really want to market to because for Christmas last year, what did they get? Well, 10-year-olds, they got an iPad, they got a new iPhone, they got earbuds, they got everything they wanted technology because this is the digital generation. And if their parents are spending money, then perhaps this is the one to market to. So there you are.
Silky smooth TV segue. So let's talk about that, ladies. We've got a very diverse age range. You've got, infant to octogenarian, right? And we're trying to, and now
To
obviously,
96, I think.
I think maybe. I mean, I'm not sure what happens after that. I'm not that old, but what we need to sort of think about, right, is how do you, because we're obviously not going to produce different marketing campaigns for a senior citizen and for a toddler and for everyone in between. Like the cost on that would be outrageous, right? So Sarah, you run a marketing firm. How do you, when you're thinking about that, both from a production standpoint, but also from the funnel standpoint, how do you build that out so that you're catching as many of people across that range as you can?
That's a good question. It is very broad, and I will say I do want to feel like I am special, Nan. Thank you, and I do my own laundry because I am past that and older. So thank you.
I do feel a little attacked for all the millennials
Make
in
that
the room.
difference. Make that difference.
But it all starts with a story. We are in a business where we need to tell a story to whomever generation they're at, whether they are an infant or elder, Nan. Um, So you tell a story. Now, in this day and age, you can't do the traditional long form. You can't do the newspaper snippets. It has to be bite-sized content, something that you can. Does everybody know what I say when I mean squirrel effect? Does anybody not know what a squirrel effect is? Okay, no hands are up. So I'm going. Um, After COVID, we have sort of developed the squirrel effect where you want to absorb a whole lot of a little and not a little of a lot. I said that backwards. Not a lot of a little. You don't want to be the expert, you just want to know. So when we're creating bite-sized content and making a story, we need to give value. Value is the most important thing, whether you are an influencer or this stay-at-home mom that just wants to share her children on Instagram or a business, B2C or B2B. You have to provide value. If you don't give value, you're not going to get value back. And you do that by telling a story. That story can be how your business got to where it is. It can be your mission. It can be you as a brand. Whether that's really you or just a facade, we don't know. And honestly, most times nowadays, we don't care. We care about the story you were selling us, the story you were telling us. And the easiest way to do that is through small pieces, whether that's small blogging, a Vine, which is making a comeback. Woo! For the millennials, you get it. If you don't, sorry. Um, Whether it's reels or stories, which is where that whole term initiated. We are telling a story, and they're doing that in small increments. Um, Netflix has really opened the door with binging, because who's going to sit and watch a 4.5 hour movie besides me and Lord of the Rings, the extended edition? Let's be honest.
Guilty.
But you will watch 30-second pieces of content to really divulge into a story, really learn something of value, whether that's the newest hair products because I want my hair to be nice and shiny, or the symptoms to a physical issue you are having, whether that be a cold and you are about to die, or um, a pimple you're trying to get rid of fast because you have to sit on a stage in the middle of very bright lights today. It's all about a little bit of a lot. And you can binge that if you so choose, and you can get those followers and subscribers, but mostly it's just a form to entertain and offer value through your story. It's just finding your story and who you are.
Yeah, I think that's great, Sarah. I think what's hard about it is anyone who's ever been on a stage or spoken or written a paper in college knows that it's easier to go long than to go short, right? And so you can, I mean, you see this in the podcast world, right? Where there's 1,000,006 podcasts that are all 4 hours long, right? And if you are in the car all the time or you're getting on the train, depending on where you live, you maybe have that time, and that's easy to do. It's doing a 22-minute television program, or doing a 30-second Instagram reel. Your narrative has to be so tight. Like you don't really have room for fluff, right? When you're doing that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So let's talk for a minute about how we rebuild sort of our production workflows, because you watch stuff on television or you watch the high end stuff that the big companies are doing, and every person up here or on a screen has someone in their ear telling them to move on. Right, okay, we've only got 30 seconds, let's move to the next thing. Or you've got a technical director calling shots and moving around. But in today's world, you've got so many solopreneurs, and especially since COVID, right? And so many small businesses that they're trying to do that, but they don't have the resources or the knowledge to have someone in their ear telling them, okay, you've been talking about this for too long. We need to move to the next topic. So I know that you run the production at your company.
Mhm.
How do you guys do that?
I think it's all about building the funnel. It goes back to knowing your audience, as Nan had mentioned. It's knowing your story and then building it out from there. Everybody's learning style is different, everybody's attention span is different. So you start with your product, whether that is an email or a downloadable piece of content, something of value, and you build it from there. So if I wanted to create this long form video that tells everybody who I am, what I do, and fun facts about me, then I will take it, cut it into small 15-second ads that will reach different audiences. I will send them an email drip. I will send them to a landing page where I can collect their contact information and give them something that is beautiful but educational, downloadable wise. Then we will send them to a website. We'll do social media posts. I mean, it just keeps going. It could be a podcast that also points back to your video. Everything must interconnect, everything must provide value and tell your story. And what's the best way to do that? It all depends on the audience you're trying to reach. So you can do it in small increments through multiple audiences or really nail down on yours.
Sure.
Let me talk about that for just a second from a solo entrepreneur type of point of view, because I think it's hard for people today when they start a business and they're sitting all by themselves. They've had other people do all kinds of things for them, IT being one of those, or marketing, or whatever they're having to do. And they're all by themselves and they're thinking, how am I going to do this? Really, what I think we need to do, and I have all those things that you've talked about, but I think what we need to do is educate ourselves down the line. We have to say, okay, here's our website. Now, what are they talking about a landing page, and what's a lead magnet, and how do you get that, and what are various types, and what are the ones that are going to most resonate with my particular audience? And as a solo entrepreneur, it's very hard to be able to get good at all these things. We have virtual assistants out there, which I think are absolutely fabulous, because as a solo entrepreneur, I'm not sure you want to hire employees, because if you do, you are into the whole reporting kinds of things with government. If you can simply go the VA, the virtual assistant, it is the best way to go, I think, as a solo entrepreneur. And then they can help you get where you need to be through the navigation of all the marketing things that you have to do.
I think that's huge, Ned. And I think sort of the core of what I took from what you just said is to biggest bang for buck, right? Like, do you get as many things, sort of, well, you always talk about leadership. It's like you don't have to know everything. You just have to be able to staff well, right? And when you're starting out or when you're a small entity, you plausibly don't have the resources or the tools or the finances to be able to afford to bring on a whole staff and do all the HR stuff and the payroll withholding and all the things that one has to do in business. And that leads me to what I want to talk about next, which is sort of the production stuff. So I'd like to take a couple of minutes and talk about that. We were having a great conversation the other evening where we were just sort of going over what we wanted to talk about today. And one of the things that, as a production specialist, as a production SME, that I see all of the time is people will have all of this footage. Everyone's got a camera in their pocket now, right? But those cameras, while they look good the stuff looks good on your phone. If you then came to a conference and tried to blow it up to that size, it would look horrible. It would be pixelated as hell. and it just wouldn't look good, and it wouldn't set the right impression for what your brand is, right? If you go to someone's website and there's a bunch of typos, what's the first thing you think? You think they don't know what they're doing, right? They didn't have anyone proofread this. Creates the same problem. So when I consult with people, what I always tell them is that even if the destination is TikTok, right, or Instagram, still shoot it right. Don't shoot it with an iPhone. Don't shoot it with, some sort of cell phone, videography situation. And there are tools to do that, and you can do cool stuff with that. But I mean, there are definitely times where you've had that kind of functionality in Hollywood productions, but the amount of stuff they have to do to it before it gets into a Marvel production or whatever is so high that if you're a solopreneur, if you're a small organization, you don't have the resources, more likely than not the know-how. I mean, you're talking about hundreds of hours in the edit just to get it to a place. It's much better to spend the time and the money to do it properly, use a real camera, and not to cast aspersions on whatever anyone's using, but you use a camera with a full frame sensor, and you use proper lenses. And then once you have that footage, you can still edit it down and output it from Premiere or whatever you're using. I mean, most of these editing softwares now have predefined presets where I can go export for YouTube, export for Facebook, or whatever, where it takes you no time at all, and it just dumps it out, and you just upload it. And that's really, from a production standpoint, we need to do more of that, because now you've got this footage that you can push into a documentary if you want, and it can also be an Instagram reel if you want. It's all about the editing at that point.
So one of the things I'm thinking about is how can you be really quality as much as you can and still be cheap? And when I say cheap, I just mean inexpensive, because you just don't have a lot of money to spend on everything. And I think one of the things that I do is I use Zoom a whole lot.
Yeah.
And that's where I do most of my recording. No, it's not on a camera. No, it's not on the phone. No, it's not anywhere else. It's just through Zoom. Now, if you can get good enough that you can just simply have to edit top and tail, then you can pull it into YouTube and be able to edit top and tail. Top is the beginning, tail is the end, and get the rest of it pretty well set. But there's so many people like on Upwork that will do editing for you.
Yeah.
And so if you simply send your video or whatever you have into somebody like that, they then put it into Dropbox, you then download it, you upload it where you need to go, and bim, bam, boom, you've got it. And I think that is the inexpensive way to go. And it can be bite-sized because you can always have them break it up,
Sure.
or you can break it up. And now you've got so many AI video. There's video, what is it, reduct.video, that's good, pickery.ai, that's good.
I mean, at this point, there's a never-ending marketplace of AI tools that can do maybe not all of it for you, but that can do some portion of it, so that you're not having to start from the beginning. And your suggestion about places like Fiverr, Upwork, there are lots of practitioners that are on these marketplaces, and that is how they make their bones. They don't work a regular job. They sit in front of their computer all day long, and they edit video or pictures for other people, right? And the other, I would tag on to that, the other suggestion I would make is there are hundreds of thousands of young people going to film school in this country every year, all the time. That industry is entirely built on your portfolio. The first thing you get asked as a camera operator, cinematographer, and editor is, where's your reel? Can I see what you've done? Right? And so there's a significant amount of people out there that know possibly more than you about how to edit or how to shoot, or what's a good shot or what looks good, that are just looking for portfolio stuff. And so there's places to find that too.
Yeah, I'll play on that. I think it's really important to remember that even if you're trying to be frugal, quality matters. Quality really affects the data. And we're using analytics to guide this entire journey, from the audiences to the content we select, the styles, etc. And if you don't have the quality, whether it's on an iPhone or on Zoom or hired, um, you're not going to get the results you want. I know it's cliche to say to spend money to make money, but you should spend your money wisely through investing in yourself and your quality.
That's 100% true, Sarah. We were talking the Fireside chat I did in CXO yesterday about pricing structures
Mhm.
and how do you combat the sticker shock issue when you say, okay, I can give you all of this, but it's going to cost $1 million, right? And when people look at you funny when you want to charge a real price, right? And and the way that you combat that is being excellent. If you're excellent at what you do, eventually it comes back to you. I'll tell a quick little story. A number of years ago, I was working with this basketball player who ended up playing professionally in Europe, but he was, trying to get scouted. And so we produced a series of videos for him talking about who he was, where he's from, what he could do, and then game footage. And we just condensed it down. And we agreed on a rate and we went and did the thing or whatever. Then he came back to me the next year, wanted to do another thing. Quoted him pretty much the same price. And he balked at it. So then he went somewhere else. Then 3 years after that, he comes back to me saying like, "Hey, I went with this other company, this other guy. He charged me a price I could afford, but it wasn't as good as your stuff, and it wasn't what I wanted." Right. And so he came back and we did some more. We subsequently later did some more work together. And that's the thing is like these people are going to walk away when you see when you are excellent at what you do, you should be paid accordingly. Right. But if you people are going to walk away, but some of them will come back, but the right clients will find you if you're excellent at your work and you cultivate that brand and that reputation in your community of being consistently excellent.
Well, that's why we're here. We're
Absolutely.
excellent and we're
Absolutely.
confident in what we do, and our clients and partners and employees should believe that.
Let's let me talk a little bit about I'm sure you can talk a lot more about this on how can we do this bite size as it relates to YouTube. How could you do it? For instance, there's places out there like TubeBuddy. There's all kinds of places that will create YouTube shorts for you. And YouTube shorts are what people are looking for today. They want bim bam fast. And something under generally a minute is going to work best. And you can get your YouTube shorts by simply trying to cut out the best part. And you'll find some companies like TubeBuddy that would do those, or I think that's the name of it. Anyway, that will do the shorts for you. But those are the things that you might want. For instance, I have a podcast. It's called Trailblazers Impact and interviews. And this will simply through YouTube take my YouTube video and cut it into what they think are the best shorts.
Shows is I would do it the same way the news stations always have. You shoot your show, you 22 minute, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, whatever it is, and then you come in and you scrape through it and you find the best sound bites, right? That's always been the way it's done. All the high end production outfits have always done that, but now is trying to do it. And so I would do exactly that. And whether it's something, an automated process like TubeBuddy, or whether it's hiring a virtual assistant or a virtual editor that can be in the Philippines or whatever, or anywhere in the world, because all of this is so fully remote now that you don't have to spend a significant amount of money to do it, and you can come out of a 30-minute program that goes on your podcast and goes on your main YouTube channel as like your main thing. But then now you have all of these 15, 30, 60, 90-second clips. I mean, we've all seen that with commercials for years, right? Where you produce a 60-second spot, but out of that, you have multiple endings. You get a 30-second, and then you get a 15-second, and then you get also the 5-second bumper that is right before they go back to the main program. The check this whatever piece of information is tonight at 11. Like that's a bumper, right? TV people have been doing that for decades, right? So that I wouldn't do anything different, to be honest with you. I would just do like you suggest and try to automate as much as possible.
I like to think about it like a first date. I mean, if you're wanting to really entice this person, then you're going to put your best foot forward. You're going to be short and sweet and happy. If you're trying to scare them away, then you're going to show them all your red flags really quickly in a short and sweet version of it. It's just putting out there what you want. If you're wanting to gain attention and awareness, show them your red flags. If you're wanting to draw them in because you want to work with them, then flirt a little. I mean, but do it in a small incremental size where they're not bored to death or moving on to the next piece
Fair enough. Fair
because I want a second date.
I think
enough.
another thing that you can do to kind of save money when you're looking to be a smaller entrepreneur is the website all the way through your email service, all the way through your landing pages. it goes on and on. And your courses that you may want to develop and hold. I, for about 5 years, because with this big business, I'm able to say, oh, I need this, I need that, and every piece of the company has an expert in that area, and you could get it done. With a small business, it's like crazyville. There's my notes, which I didn't use. Okay, I'll leave them there on the floor. So, point is that there are places out there. Kajabi, for instance, is one I finally went to when I had a website over here, and I went through, I think, 3 or 4 email services, and you can get kind of everything in one. And I think as a small entrepreneur, if you can make everything into one area where you don't have to have piecemeal of everything, that's a lot easier. So that's the bite size way of doing it for the small person.
No, 100%, 100% agree. I think there's a lot of good numbers out there. We're talking about bite size, but I'll just throw this out anecdotally. That there's a lot of good numbers out there that suggest the amount of eyes and views and then retention you get from doing regular live streams is high. I won't go through all the numbers here now, but I do a lot of live streams for clients and things like that. And if you can get, I mean, it's gonna, like anything, a podcast or anything, the first 3 or 4 times you do it, it's gonna be 4 people, right? It's gonna be like your mom and people that you care about you or know about you or whatever. But then eventually you end up getting a critical mass of that, and you draw a lot of numbers, and then out of that, the beautiful thing about that, whether it's YouTube or whether you're using like a multicast service like Streamshark or something like that, where they're recording all of that on their server, and then you can just then grab that, edit it up, or repush it, save it as a file, and then you can stream from a file. What we used to call a live to tape in TV years ago. Now people like to call it simulated live, which is just a buzzword. It's not a real thing, right? But you do that, and then again, you have that full length recording that you can do what Nan is suggesting, and then pull all of those moments from that. And if you have an hour recording, you might be able to live on that in a bite-sized sense for a month, maybe more.
One of the best things about lives is that's the easiest way to tell your story.
100%.
I mean, they get to see you or your business, real life, real personality, real brand, and it creates a relationship, one that you don't have over a screen where people are wondering if you're authentic. Lives really nail that down, but you can also take your live and break it down into smaller bits, like Vincent
100%.
said, which is wonderful.
And I think it's kind of scary a little bit. I mean, I was a little scared about that, and I still am, about LinkedIn Live. I need to just do it. And I think to myself, what's the matter with you? Why are you hesitant about this in any way, shape, or form? I've probably trained, I would say, presented before and trained about 50,000 people over my lifetime of speaking. So I'm very comfortable up here. But when I think about doing it on LinkedIn Live, I think, oh, I'll probably screw up. What am I going to do? What if what if I forget what I'm saying? You know, like my nose falling to the floor. What if I forget what I'm saying in the middle? What am I going to do? Uh, one of the things I found that is helpful. Now, sounds a little weird, but you can do it. If you have 2 monitors, so you have a big monitor back here, you've got your computer monitor right here. You can put your script or your notes on one monitor and Zoom, for instance, which would be through the LinkedIn Live, on another monitor. And so you've got everything right there. You don't need to worry about what you're going to forget because you can flip over, Alt-Tab over on your computer, and they won't see the screen that you're looking at with your notes. All they're seeing is you talking over here, and just don't get anal about seeing yourself over here and look at your notes, and bam, you can get right through it and not have to worry about what am I going to do if I forget.
Well, pro tip, just turn off self-view. Like, just turn it off. Like every last one of us has been in a meeting on Zoom, and you're talking to them, and you just see them staring at themselves the whole time. It's like, how narcissistic are you, my friend? Like, just turn it off, right? I support conferences and big meetings with high-level executives all the time and have done for years. And invariably, you just got to turn the damn thing off because people are just going to stare at themselves, and then you're doing a live stream, and all you're doing is looking at, oh, wow, I can fix my hair or like whatever. And that's not engaging. And that's one of those first date red flags, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talking way too much about yourself. I don't care about what you actually think, like what have you. Can we get through dinner, please? Right. And so pro tip, turn off self-view. Second pro tip with that is Nan made a great suggestion. Slightly easier way to do that, teleprompter. And now when I started, teleprompters cost thousands and thousands of dollars, and the high-end ones still do, right? But there's so many things you can do off of Amazon or whatever that are a couple $100, and you just stick your camera behind it, and it'll prompt. There's software you can get that'll prompt right off your phone or your iPad, and it's easy. And then you don't have to worry about where are my notes on the floor. You don't have to. It's all of your stuff is right there with you, and you're looking because it's a prompter. You're looking in the camera 100% of the time.
Oh, let's talk about cameras for just a second.
I would love to.
So let's say we got these two screens, and we got our computer here and back here, and we got our bigger screen over here, bigger monitor over here. And where do you put your camera? Now, if you're going to use your camera from your computer, the problem is they are going to be looking up your nose. Now, I don't know about you, but that is not a pretty view on me. So you really don't want that. How do I then do it? Think about something like a Logitech camera, which has your microphone built right into it that you can clip on top of the bigger monitor that is higher behind it, behind your one right in front. And that's the camera that you should use, because if you can get that camera at least up, and you should have about this much space on top of your head as in the view, and then use your camera that's up rather than down. Definitely a better view, I will guarantee you.
Go ahead, Zane, okay.
I'll add one more tip to that because you're talking a lot about how to do it. Perfection doesn't exist. I think we need to stop trying to achieve it. You're not going to get the perfect angle, the perfect speech. The goal to drive perfection kills creativity, and consumers thrive off creativity. So don't try to be perfect. Just be yourself, let it happen. If you drop your notes, oops. If you come off a little bonkers or slightly mad, well, Lewis Carroll said we're all mad, and some of the best people are. So just be it. Be authentic, put it out there, and you don't know who will resonate, but the people that do, they're your people, they're your audience, and the analytics will eventually show you that.
And I think that's you're 100% on point. Is that there's no such thing as perfect, and you go through the biggest production, some of the biggest like billion-dollar movie productions, and the best moment in the entire thing is something that Jim Carrey, whomever, just made up on the spot, just because it occurred to him, right? And we see that over and over again. There's no such thing as perfect. There's always gonna be something else you could have done, and I had a professor in college that used to say this all the time, talked about Albert Schweitzer and how Albert Schweitzer famously said, you had at some point you just got to pluck it from the typewriter and put it in the outbox, right? And plausibly no one knows what a typewriter is anymore, but the point is salient, which is like at some point you just have to be done. And that is what's great about doing a live stream as opposed to pre-shot stuff, is that you're live. There's no take two. You just do it and you get through it, and then you review it and say, hey, I could have done this better, or I could have done that better, and you just move on, right?
You're learning.
Yes.
You're learning from your mistakes more than you're learning from your attempts at perfection.
We talk about bite size. Let me segue onto a different kind of thing. How many of you have ever wanted to write a book? I'm having trouble seeing out there, but I know you got some.
There's a few.
All right.
There's definitely.
So let me give you a little bit of a story on writing a book. When about 4 or 5 years ago, when I was starting this business, people said, all right, you have to get know, like, and trust are the three most important things in building an audience, in building a following, in building a network, whatever. Know, like, and trust you. If they don't know, like, and trust you, then forget it. You're not going to be able to break into where you really want to break in. So I thought, okay, know, like, and trust. And one of the ways you need to do that, Nan, this is the advice I'm getting that I'm paying probably $10,000 for when I'm taking the getting these various places that are the gurus that tell you they're going to give you everything. So they said, write a book. I'm thinking, write a book. Okay, write a book. Sounds easy, right? But I figured out, all right, I'll write a book. So I got a publisher type, not a publisher where they're going to say, I'll take all the expenses and give you all the money. It doesn't work that way. But a publisher that says self-publishing in a way, in that they create and do everything for you. Wrote a book, 350 pages, That Gold in the Golden Years, How to Start and Launch a Business. And that book cost me, you ready for this? Now, they included $10,000 in there for marketing, but that book cost me $25,000. So I have this book out there, and I'm thinking, okay, know, like, and trust. They're all going to know, buy the book, do the know, like, and trust, and I have no trouble at all. And I'll somehow figure out how to pay that $25,000, but because it's going to get me where I need to go. Bottom line is no. All it really is give you a little bit of a legitimacy in that you did a book. All right, that's fine. Time goes by, a couple of years go by. I decide, okay, I want to write another book, but I want to write this Leader Accelerator series, and I don't have $25,000. I've been paying you $10,000 over here. I've been paying $25,000 for this book. Oh my God, this is crazyville. So what I need to do is write I think maybe a smaller book. So I'll write a book, see if I can find out how to do this. Oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe this. Do you know, I went to Fiverr. I wrote the book, so it's not like this person is going to edit for you. No. And I typed it out, with the computer. And I was able to submit the book to this person on Fiverr. The person did the front cover, the back cover, created both, did all of the formatting of the book, uploaded it to Amazon, everything. You know what the price was? Under $200. Now, the book is like 40 pages versus my 350, but I'm not sure anybody's going to get through the 350 anyway. This is the bite-sized thing today.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to write a book, one of the things you might think about is writing a smaller book, like 40 to maybe 100 pages at the most. Write several if you want to, and go to somebody like Fiverr and Fiverr and get them to do the final pieces that you need, that they're going to charge you $25,000 over here, and you're really never going to get your money back. So easy way to do it. Bite size.
100% right, Nan. I mean, I think we live in a world today where everyone's social feeds are. If you're in business at all of the analytics and all of the targeted advertising is like my feed is full of nothing but gurus trying to sell me something. They're trying to tell me how, we're going to build this funnel, or we're going to get you this book, and we're going to do this, and it is the secret sauce, and you're going to be like, living on a private jet the rest of your life. Right? That's not real, right? None of that exists in reality. It's much more likely that someone's going to pop out with a real working Iron Man suit than any of that is going to work, right? They're just going to come and it's buried in the fine print. They say like these results are not typical. Most people don't have these experiences. Da 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 da. And they're selling you. I mean, it's like the 21st century version of the multi-level marketing schemes, right? Where you've got 2 or 3 people who are living this amazing life, and poor folks that think if I give you $500 that I'm gonna, or whatever, right? Right. I mean, what's the secret to being successful in business, right? It's hard work. There's no such thing as an overnight success. People that pop overnight, whether it's actors or business people, there's a 20-year track record of them doing like dinner theater and like doing stand-up comedy in a random hole in the wall in like a small little town, right?
There's a lot of behind the scenes work.
100%.
Well, we've got 5 minutes left. Do you know that?
Did not. Thank you.
Yeah. And are there any questions that people want to ask? Realize with these bright lights, it's really hard to see. So if you've got some questions, let us know. If you want to know how to live to 81, or you want to know how to do whatever we want to do. Anybody got any questions on anything? Don't be shy, for heaven's sakes.
I mean, I think the moral of this panel is that I want to be Nan when I grow up.
Yeah.
I want the Iron Man suit. But in paint, please.
I am the Energizer Bunny. Believe it or not, I am like this from the time I get up until then I really fade. About 8 o'clock at night, I'm probably in bed.
I can see that. I think since there doesn't seem to be a lot of questions, so I think I'll just throw in one more thing anecdotally, is that when we're talking about content creation, right, this is the ground is constantly shifting under your feet, right? Anything that involves technology it's constantly a process of what's next and what's next and what's next and what's next. And I think back to something that Steven Spielberg said many years ago. He talked about when he first started making movies, and we're not talking about Jurassic Park or anything. We're talking about when he was like a teenager, right? And his parents were able to get him a very like modest film camera, and it wasn't good quality at all. But he's talked about this over the years. It's like it's not about it's not about what you shoot on necessarily. It's about the quality of your filmmaking and the quality of your cinematography. A good shot is a good shot on any device, right? And so the ground is constantly going to be shifting under your feet, and what we all have to do is be able to do like you see in the old westerns where the cowboy's got his ear on the railroad track and just trying to listen for what's coming, because things are always going to shift. And I'm reminded of in the late 90s, early 2000s when Canon revolutionized the way we do things, and we still live in the shadow of that today. Every every Panasonic GH camera or Canon SLR camera is because of what Canon did with the XO1. It was the first sort of like mid-sized compact, if you want to use a car analogy, where they took a professional grade sensor and built that into a prosumer about $5,000 camera. It was the first camera with interchangeable lenses at that price point, and it changed everything. Everybody in the TV world went from $200,000 cameras to this camera because it was so good. And why it changed everything was because of a horror film that some of y'all may have seen called 28 Days Later, right? And what they did was these filmmakers, they lucked up. They got really lucky. They were producing this film they were shooting right after the Olympics one year. And so when the Olympics get shot, you don't truck gear to another continent. You just buy stuff locally and have it shipped and you get it locally. And then when you leave, you sell it. You put it on the auction marketplace, and you just get rid of it and you move on. And so they were able to buy a pallet of these Canon XO1 bodies, and then were able to fit it with the high-end film Panavision lenses that everyone's been using since like Orson Welles, right? And and they were able to do that. And so instead of take one, now we move to the next look, take two, etc., they were able to shoot each scene with like 30 angles. And because mini DV tape was so cheap, they were able to just have all that content and just edit it down. That the combination of that camera system and the way they shot that film changed the way everything was done. And so it's important because prior to that, everyone was like, "Oh, digital's never really going to encroach on the cinema because of the quality of film and all of these things." And what they did changed everything. And that story has played itself out 1,000 times since with all kinds of new technology. Now AI is the thing, right? And now we're talking about VR and all these kind of things, and that will continue to happen. And so to do this and to do it well, you have to get really, really comfortable with embracing change and realizing that you're an expert now, but 5 minutes from now you might not be. And so it's a constant commitment to education and re-education and re-education to stay relevant as an expert in your field, right?
And so my last little pearl that I hope I can drop someplace is try Chat GPT. If you have not tried this before and you're just kind of nervous about, oh, what is this thing really going to do? My website is nanmckaeconnects, plural.com. My email is nan@nanmckaeconnects.com. I teach Chat GPT in a very ordinary, practical way. And I will guarantee you that within 1 hour of working with me on Chat GPT, and I do classes on it every once in a while, so you have to kind of watch the website or get on my email list and be able to find out when they come up. But I can get you to the close to expert phase in 1 hour. This is the change that you've been looking for in content. And no, you can't take everything it takes. And yes, you have to create it yourself. And yes, you have to really look at what you've created. And you have to change it because it isn't always right. But it's that person that can sit next to you right here and brainstorm with you. And that's what you can use it for better than anything else, is figuring out how to say something, that thing you're thinking about and you can't quite get out, how to say it maybe better than you could ever do it yourself, and just take the pieces that work for you and then put them together with your magic yourself.
Last word, sir.
I think the whole point here is try something new. Step out of the box. Marketing is constantly evolving. Innovation is running rampant. Try it. If it's successful, break it down into bite-sized pieces. If it's not, learn from your mistake, or even it might not even be a mistake. It just might not be the path you wanted. Learn and try again. Try something new. Try different forms of content. Try different platforms. Try new cameras or hire somebody if you're not sure. Just try. You don't know until you try. And I mean, that's the whole point of the attention span, is to capture somebody's interest, somebody's attention, and want them to try the same thing. Let them try your services or your partners or just getting to know you.
And just like Alice in Wonderland and the Cheshire Cat said to Alice, well, if you don't know where you're going, then it doesn't matter which path you take. Right?
Thank you very much, panel. We are
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
That was an awesome talk, guys. Thank you very much. Want to get a round of pictures before we send our new panel in?